welcome to Chalk Talk. I'm Chris Love.
I'm Katie Nastro.
I'm Zeke.
This week on Chalk Talk, presented by U.S. Sailing. And by the way, you can get a U.S. Sailing college membership at racing.ussailing.org/college. Well, this week, Zeke has something to say to us. We named the stud of the week since you all did not. There sure are a lot of women in college sailing, and we're going to talk about it. We give you our predictions for a championship-filled weekend, and finally, the Zim Sailing photo assignment. See last week's photos and hear what we want you to do this week.
Well, correction, I have something to say to you, Chris. Do you follow college sailing? Did you watch what happened this weekend? And how did you not then include Ian Barrows in our discussion for the stud of the week? We talked about him last week as probably the top recruit going into college sailing, and he just shows up at his first ever intersectional on the Charles River, mind you, probably the hardest place to get your sailing bearings, let alone your college sailing bearings, and he just shows up and wins C Division by 42 points over people who are pretty good too. It wasn't like he was racing scrubs. Beats guys like Will Bailey, Michael Pope, David Liebenberg, who just finished the AC 45 thing, Jordan Factor, he's pretty good too. And he does it with consistent finishes. He never finishes outside the top 10, which on the Charles River is nearly impossible. He scores 11 top 3 finishes in 17 races. By all accounts, I'd say he would have won any division on the Charles that weekend, probably any division in college sailing. So how is he not being considered for the stud of the week? And who do you choose instead? A laser sailor who wins C Division at the Nevins. Whoop-de-doo, you won C Division at the Nevins. Great, lasers are great, but let's make no mistake. If winning laser divisions at multiple division regattas was important, I would have been Sailor of the Year about half a dozen times. So let's not get too excited. Where's Ian Barrows? Come on, Chris, pull it together.
Thanks for the support, Zeke. All right, so who do we have for stud of the week this week?
All right, so stud of the week, we have Morgan Kiss from Yale, Erica Renke from Boston College, and Wonky Perdermo, excuse my pronunciation, from Harvard. So we collectively decided, because nobody else did, that Erica Renke is the studette of the week. First in B at the Hatch Brown, she had a studly performance in B to lead the Eagles to win over the highly favored Yale team.
Well, we got some other great photos and video from around ICSA. Here are our weekend highlights.
Well, Katie, well said. Studette of the week. Probably a thing now that we see all these babes rocking it in college sailing. Why are there so many girls now repping hard in the Coed fleet?
Zeke, honestly, I don't think this is like a new thing. I think this has definitely been something that we've seen in the past, maybe even going back 20 years. I mean, there were definitely showings in Navy, B Division. Susie Minchkin, I think, she won B Division at Nationals about 20 years ago in the early 90s. And then we had Anna Tunnicliffe, of course, killing it at Nationals. I mean, I always think there's been a handful of really successful women sailors that have dominated in the co-ed scene, but it's kind of gone under the radar a little bit.
It definitely seems like we're on the uptick. I just checked tech score for the past 2 weeks. We've had 11 women make an appearance at interconferences. And I mean, the Hatch Brown is historically a good place for teams to play some women. You know, it's a 3-division event. It competes with another 3-division event. But still, 11 women is a lot. And it's not just at the bottom of the results with the small schools. It's also at the top. I mean, you look at Deirdre Lambert getting 6th this weekend, Marlena Fauer 4th in B. You had Erica Reinecke, of course, like we just said, winning B Division. So I don't know. It definitely seems like this year we're seeing an uptick of this.
Yeah, it may not be that it's new over the course of the last century, but I think it's certainly new over the last 5 or 6 years or so. I can't recall ever seeing all these girls competing at such a high level where they're finishing in the top 5 And I'm just wondering what it has to do with. I'm wondering maybe it's something to do like, how in the NBA these days, all the best players go to the same team. Kind of seems like that sort of happens in college sailing too, with teams like Stanford and Yale these days, St. Mary's being real deep. And it leaves certain other teams like ODU, Boston College, teams like that, where now all of a sudden their best sailors also happen to be their best women's sailors. And the coaches are like, well, this girl's kicking everyone's butt. Why wouldn't I put her in my top tier intersectional? And I think it's kind of been looking like that since the last few years with people like Megan McGill and Annie Hager, Sydney Bolger, Sarah Lehan, people like that who start making their way onto the team racing team as well. And that, I think, translates really well into just becoming a more aggressive, gung-ho sailor who can compete in the co-ed scene, not just the women's scene.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying. I don't think, though, that women haven't been not aggressive in their style of sailing. I think that we've been aggressive, but it's a totally different style that women have to adapt. I mean, you go to a women's regatta, and obviously everybody kind of downplays the talent that's in there, but the talent's been there all along. I think now people are just starting to realize, like, oh yeah, the girls can play with the boys.
Well, hey, no need to get defensive here, lady. All I'm saying is that you can't compare the aggressiveness seen on the starting line at a women's regatta compared to co-ed or team racing. And so I think that the game is certainly starting to change in women's racing. And I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg, but whatever the case may be, we're seeing a lot more ladies starting to be definitely more aggressive than they have been in the past at their women's only regattas, which is allowing them to not just compete with the dudes, but beat them, a lot of them. It's great.
I'm sensing a little sarcasm there, Zeke. Well, just a hint of it this morning, no?
No one has ever accused me of being sarcastic.
Mm-hmm. I'm watching you.
So what do you think? Is it just a shift in coaching? Are coaches just starting to give more of these talented women a chance, or is it a coincidence that they happen to need spots on their co-ed team? Like in the past 5 years, I guess, do you think, Katie, that the talent has gone unnoticed and just been pigeonholed into the women's scene, or is it something different?
I mean, I can't speak for what coaches decide to do with their play and going, putting their women in women's regatta or putting them in co-ed regatta, but I think it's one of those things where if you have sailors that are proving themselves in practice and they are performing, why wouldn't you want to put your best boat in your so-called better regattas, which I'm not saying, this is not a conversation about women's regattas are better than co-ed regatta, I'm not saying that, but if you go to a co-ed regatta, yeah, the talent is going to be a little bit deeper, it's going to be a little more compact when it comes to, how strong the starting line is or whatever you want to say, but I think their play now is not so much, okay, I want to have, just a good women's team, so I'm going to keep them there. My co-ed team's not as strong, we'll work on it. No, I think it's, all right, I'm going to put my best foot forward, and if it's a girl, who it's not even a question anymore. It's like an afterthought that she's a she, so.
Well, whatever it is, I think it's exciting, and I hope it continues more than just the first 2 weeks of the season.
Mary Hall.
For years, college coaches had only one option for collegiate 420s or FJs. That all changed 5 years ago when Zim Sailing was born and has since nearly shipped 200 boats into the college and high school market. These schools have had tremendous success with their fleets as the boats have stood up to the rigors of daily use. SUNY Maritime coach Russ O'Reilly recently stated, "It was great working with Zim as they customized the fleet to meet our needs. Visit zimsailing.com to purchase your next fleet."
This upcoming weekend, Mesa is having their women's single-handed champs, and Nisa and Cesar are having men's singles. We also think that CISA is having their sloop champs. Anyway, some of these regattas are going to be pulling away some laser sailors from the interconferences, but I still expect some heavy talent at the two interconferences scheduled. Here are our predictions.
Well, thanks for those of you who participated in the Zim Sailing photo assignment from last week. This week's winner seems to be a picture from an airplane where it looks like College of Charleston All-American crew Allie Blumenthal seems to have some old guy falling asleep on her shoulder. I hope he wasn't drooling. Can't tell who that guy is.
Well, thanks everybody who submitted. Kind of off topic here, but NC State won its first ever college sailing regatta, the Cesa North Points, and they sent in some photos, not from travel, but from the regatta. Anyway, congrats to NC State.
All right, guys, for the Zim photo assignment this week, remember that you can email us any pictures you have or videos at chalktalk@chrisloveproductions.com. Or we have an Instagram account at College Sailing Chalk Talk. Hashtag whatever you want. Zeke, what's the assignment for this week?
This week's Zim Sailing photo assignment is rest stop antics. So pull off at the side of the road at some type of bathroom facility or Wendy's or McDonald's or what have you, and take some funny pictures. Maybe a pyramid, maybe smile with a friendly McDonald's employee. Whatever it is, we want to see it. Send it.
Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for joining us on Chalk Talk. We'll see you on Monday for the Monday morning update, and then again next Thursday.